some people aren't incentivized to tell you the truth because, it threatens their own business model. Bitcoin is a human solution. It's for 8 billion people. Whether you're rich or poor, it benefits you. And I think it harms more of the high net worth individuals not to pay attention to it because they too will wake up one day with a net worth of zero, or at least a purchasing power of zero, because all these numbers on the screen will represent one big fat zero in the same way it did for me. So a lot to unpack there, but very, very exciting times and very turbulent times.
It's fascinating when you think about the solution is another bank in another jurisdiction. It reminds me of, you go to the doctor, you tell him, oh, whenever I eat bananas, I get a rash because I'm allergic against fruits, and he's like, eat an apple. Yeah, it's still a fucking fruit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're chasing the same problem just in a different area. The solution isn't another bank. The solution is to opt out of this broken and corrupt system entirely and to start living in the future, one that's founded on a new monetary policy that is not controllable by any living soul. That is Bitcoin. And that is still a problem that the world has with it, is that they don't understand that this is money. A lot of folks still treat it as a speculative asset. They even call it a risk-on asset, which cracks me up when I hear it. I'm like, how is Bitcoin, of all things, a risk-on asset? Well, you're saying that because, one, you don't understand it, and two, you're measuring it with that worthless fiat. Like, you're seeing its price go up and price go down. Oh my gosh, it's so risky and volatile. You cannot measure Bitcoin from an inflationary system. These two worlds cannot coexist. One of them is designed to steal, inflate your life away, and the other one is created to give it back to you, give you back the power of time and energy. It's completely deflationary. So it's like oil and water. They cannot coexist. They cannot mix. But you need to understand what that is so that you're not swayed by the fear of the existing system, which is what you've known your entire life. So Bitcoin forces you to unlearn so many things. And that's why in many ways it's an ego test. Like, you take your ego, you shove it, and you open your mind to learning what the truth is and what the future holds for you. And so there's a lot more attention being placed on this now from folks that have experienced some flavor of what I lived through. Bitcoin is being used as money in many more places around the globe than it's being used as a store of value. And that's another misconception. Depending on where you hear the news from, if you hear it from financially privileged countries, they will always shill Bitcoin as digital gold, a commodity. Never sell your Bitcoin. Always store it. Why? Because if that's all Bitcoin is a store of value, at some point it will get co-opted and it will fail. Thankfully, that's not going to happen because there's too many people around the globe that are using Bitcoin to survive as money, right? That medium of exchange. If you look at the Bitcoin white paper, what's the first freaking headline on that paper? Peer-to-peer electronic cash, right? It's money. But these are the two words that you will never hear a financially privileged country utter: self-custody. Why? Because it obsoletes them. That is the revolution, the peaceful revolution behind Bitcoin. Whereas human beings, you, me, and 8 billion people, now can finally 100% own your time and energy, your money, real money, without having to leave it in the custody of thieves, essentially, which is what the banking system is. And that's another thing. To this day, 2025, September 2025, most people still don't understand that the money in the bank is not theirs anymore. It's the bank's money. And they technically give you access to it while they still like you. But as we're witnessing the collapse of the monetary system, you're seeing more and more restrictions depending where you live. Like, for example, if you look at Australia, it's like a living nightmare over there. If you look at the UK, it's exponentially worse. And that is because there is a bank run on the money. People want to opt out. There is no money. All the banks are bankrupt. The entire fiat system is flatlined, right? So the global reserve in and of itself is bankrupt. The US government, $38 trillion in debt. They can't even afford the interest on this. So what do you expect the rest of the world to look like? Right? So all of that, there's a lot of information to unpack, but I mean, Bitcoin comes from the world of tech. So it's like it's truly alien to most people because they don't know. A lot of people think, they just they're just terrible on a computer. And a lot of them don't even bother. And a lot of them don't even pay attention, which is even worse. We talk about this thing all the time, whether it's on social media, whether it's on YouTube. Like it almost feels like we're living in our own echo chamber. But I wish there was some sort of like microphone or big speakers that we can throw out into the real world. Whereas whenever we get on podcasts like this, whether it's you, me, or anyone else that's, sharing the truth, regular people walking down the street are actually listening because they are the ones that need it the most. And they are the ones that are headed off a cliff because they have no clue what is coming their way, which is very heartbreaking for me.
It's and this is exactly what I was also getting at is, and this is the most sad for me within the Bitcoin community. There are people that understand Bitcoin to a certain extent, obviously not fully, otherwise they would do self-custody, but they understand Bitcoin, they run around with Bitcoin t-shirts, they do the Bitcoin thing, and then they have Bitcoin in an ETF. They have they buy treasury companies. They hold it in exchanges. They put it in some weird borrow against it and like don't have your self custody in there. And I'm like, this is the same thing as just having euros in your bank account. You will have the same zero BTC that someone has with just saving in euros or in stocks. Because if this thing plays out as it always does, as you describe it, an IOU of Bitcoin is worth the same as a piece of paper, nothing. and I think this is the important message, and this is the saddest moment for me in the Bitcoin community. If people that get Bitcoin don't get self-custody, and then it's like, yeah, you probably haven't really understood what Bitcoin actually is.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And this is where the lack of knowledge is still, very, very apparent. Bitcoin is not a speculative asset. Like it's not a stock. And when you refer to ETFs and Bitcoin treasuries, in my head, it's this is what I call an attack on Bitcoin, right? I mean, they've tried governments in the past 16 years, they've tried to attack it, they've tried to make it illegal, they've tried all sorts of things. All of them failed, of course. Why? Because Bitcoin is peer-to-peer technology. You cannot stop this. Whether you like it or not, whether it drives you crazy, you cannot stop peer-to-peer. And so once people understand this, then all the noise becomes like a distant background buzz that you can completely ignore. How institutions and governments attack Bitcoin today, in my opinion, is by embracing it. So the ETFs, the Bitcoin treasuries, you custody your Bitcoin with our banks. That's how they embrace it. Why? Because it keeps you dependent on them. So in fact, you own nothing. They control everything. And if they don't like you, well, fuck you. There goes your money, right? Self-custody. That's the only way you win in Bitcoin. Anyone in the space that talks about Bitcoin in any way, shape, or form other than self-custody is a fraud for me. Because yes, eventually the good, the bad, and the ugly of humanity is going to find its way into Bitcoin. That is inevitable. Governments are, welcome to use it. Bad people are welcome to use it. It doesn't matter. Bitcoin doesn't discriminate. But the key to understanding Bitcoin is that the power becomes in your hand 100%. The tools are available. You just need to learn 7 or 8 new steps. And this is specifically what we teach here at the Bitcoin Way. So we break down this process into baby steps. Like we spoon feed you this information so that you get the process down, locked down, bulletproof, airtight, secure the first time. There's no chance you make a mistake. And of course, we train you to get comfortable in that, to build enough muscle memory where using Bitcoin is like almost as, as seamless as driving a car or having a cup of coffee. Like you don't think twice about it, irrespective of the amount of money that you're dealing with. So whether you're transacting with $1 or $1 billion, the Bitcoin steps don't change, right? But you need to learn how to build that ecosystem. Air-gapped wallets, Bitcoin nodes, all these new words you need to familiarize yourself with. And once you do, almost everyone that I work with, after like a few months into with Bitcoin and self-custody, they tell me, like, how did I not get this like 10 years ago? I'm like, well, because, everybody comes into Bitcoin when they're ready for the reasons that brings them here. Whether, you get your life stolen like I did, or your purchasing power is reduced to zero, or something bad usually happens that makes you question everything and seek answers. And so Some people are just front running all of this. They're like intelligent enough and open minded enough to listen to, true messaging, not the hyperinflated number go up garbage, but actually the essence of Bitcoin, what it is, why it was created, how to use it, self custody, and all that stuff. Other people are just gambling. They think all I have to do is make more dollars or more euros and I'll be okay. Yes, things are getting more expensive, but as long as I can accumulate more of that garbage, I should be okay. So it's a very myopic, short-sighted vision around this, and ultimately, it's not going to work because with the amount of money printing required today to sustain the system, there is no return in the world that you're going to be able to do in the legacy system that's going to outrun the debasement. So the only fix is to come out of that rotten system, and the only option available to us is Bitcoin. There's nothing else. It's not like you have a buffet of options. There's one, and it's Bitcoin in self custody.
How do you actually look at the honeypot of Coinbase? I mean, it's fascinating. A lot of people focus on Sailor and strategy when you talk about a single institution that has a lot of Bitcoin. But Coinbase has more Bitcoin, not directly in the treasury, but like holding for other people. It's tremendous, like how big of a honeypot this potential is for governments, but also for hackers, for like so many things that people and I think people don't describe enough risk to that the Coinbase honeypot, in my opinion.
Well, because they don't see it as a risk. Depending on where you live, if you've never lived through confiscation, well, you don't know what that feels like or what that even means, right? But it's coming. It has to come. Mathematically, it has to come. So custodians are a necessary evil. Not all custodians are bad intentioned folks. I mean, I've met a lot of custodians. They are required. This is a transition. You can't turn on a light switch and, just transition everyone overnight into Bitcoin and life goes on. I mean, I wish that were the case, but, we live in this world. So custodians are a necessary evil, but I call them a pit stop. And you really have to do your research who you work with. There are some very good people in this space that are custodians and they offer services to Bitcoiners and what have you. We recommend them because we understand, you really have to do your homework when it comes to at least trusting folks to a certain degree more than others in order to get people, into the final destination, which is Bitcoin in self-custody. The problem with all these custodians, as well-intentioned as amazing as human beings they are not in control of the rules that they play by. So if one day the government turns crazy and forbids them to do whatever, they are going to comply. They're not going to think about you, the customer. They are going to throw you under the bus because they have to. It's their key to their survival or to stay out of jail. So you don't matter anymore. You will be the casualty of that decision. So that's where really understanding self custody becomes very valuable. Because again, for the first time ever, the trust in third parties is no longer necessary. It is completely optional. If you want to trust people, you trust yourself, you trust your immediate inner circle. It comes down to, it brings back the focus of personal responsibility. It brings that to the front of the line. So if you make a mistake, yes, you're going to lose your money. It sucks. It's terrible. Fine. But that is how it's supposed to be. But if you leave your funds with a third party where you have absolutely no control over what happens there and you lose it that way, well, then it's your fault because you introduced that risk. So custodians, for me, it's a pit stop. Do your homework. There's a lot of good ones for now, as long as things are good. But when things turn bad, like when they fight you stage goes on full throttle, which I think we're starting to see more and more of these days, that's where the risk of these custodians become like it escalates. So just be very cognizant of this because we are seeing a shift in this world.
Do you see a danger that Bitcoin kind of becomes bank coin and people are just having it on custodians? They don't run a node, they don't verify, and it's just like something corrupted.
No, no. Well, some people might do that, and that's because, they still live in a place where everything works, and they just don't want to bother until that world stops working, and then they're going to learn that lesson the painful way. But there are way too many people around the globe today, like I said earlier, using it as money. Maybe they're not running nodes yet, but eventually that knowledge will find its way into these folks. Running a node is very easy. It's a must for every Bitcoiner. It is your vote on the network. It's almost like having a house without a roof. Like you need a node. Some people run many nodes. I have 8 dispersed globally. Every node that comes online exponentially adds to the whole decentralization and strength of the entire network. Really, it's your vote. And if you don't agree with a certain software implementation, well, then you can just ignore it and run the one that you do agree with, which ties back to this ongoing debate, these days between the Bitcoin core and Bitcoin knots. Well, this is essentially the power of the nodes, right? People are voting, with what they're running on their own devices. I don't want spam. I don't want your garbage on my node. I'm not going to run your software that enables it, even though, there's no clear-cut solution, but one makes it considerably easier, and I'm choosing to say no to that. So there are options, and I'm hoping there will continue to be more options so that bad actors are kept in check, right? So will Bitcoin get co-opted by government institutions? I don't think so at all. There's too many people now that are understanding Bitcoin and are using it for its freedom tech. Bitcoin is freedom money because you don't need permission. You can do with it whatever you want. You don't need to worry about what the government says. They're irrelevant when it comes to your money. They have no say or control over it, and nobody can take it away from you as long as you own it. And if you don't want to deal with where you're living, if your government is really being a pain in the ass, then leave. There are many other countries in the world that are not playing these stupid games, that are actually embracing Bitcoin with open arms, respecting people, as human beings, and inviting them onto their lands. I mean, you have countries like El Salvador. You've got other countries as well that are doing this. It's not all countries that are nightmares to deal with, thankfully. So there's always going to be options, but the key to it all is owning your money. If you don't own your money, you don't own your life. So that's piece number one. The other piece is you have to own your body. If you're financially free, Bitcoin in self-custody, but you're stuck in a country that is either dangerous because everybody around you is, financially, devastated, well, then it's not safe for you to be there, right? Or if the government is always on your case, trying to rob you with, ludicrous ideas like unrealized capital tax gains, like they're doing in Australia, or coming up with, retarded ideas like taxing unrealized extra bedrooms, or giving you a view tax because you live on floor 4 and 5. Now you have to pay any fucking stupid inventions to steal from you. Like, if you don't want to put up with this nonsense, then there are options that you can opt out into. And of course, we provide guidance on that as well, because the road to self-sovereignty is available to 8 billion people today, as of this second. You just have to take that step.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.